me. What time is it there?
It's 2:00.
Okay, so not so morning for you. You've had like a full day almost already. Well, I'm super excited today on our chat to have a friend of mine who is clearly not living in this country anymore. Colleen, and Colleen Lee now. So much has happened since we were friends back in the day, I say. But I'm going to read her intro because it's super good and I don't want to screw it up. She is, among many things, the founder and director of House to House Uganda. So, surprise, that's where she is. And she pulled this off their website. She's like, it's just so perfect, though. And I agree. I love the wording in this. So, House to House Uganda, where we empower Ugandans, I love the word empower, to become God's disciples through obeying the word, encountering the Holy Spirit, and sharing God's love with their communities. How perfect is that? I love it.
That's what we do.
She's also a wife and a mom to two beautiful boys who I look at on Instagram all the time. And they were both born at a home birth in Uganda, which is super.
One of them was born in this room, as a matter of fact.
That to me, that's a whole, that could be a whole conversation.
Yeah, we can have a whole interview about that.
And I know you're like, everyone's probably like looking for the link. They're like, Gretchen, you talk about fitness all the time. Well, she and I actually met in the world of fitness at Texas A&M University, and she's still a fitness professional. So she's been teaching group fitness and personal training in Uganda for the last 4 years, on top of all the other stuff that you do, right? And I want to take just a quick second to talk about today's topic, because typically, especially when you think about health and wellness and all the things we promote in the Mind into Motion program, we always gravitate toward physical wellness. And I mean, we know, or we're taught, and if you haven't been through the program, you may not know, so I'll tell you, there's so many different components to wellness. It's not just physical. And so I think because, Colleen, you really understand the physical component, she's a perfect person to help us start to link things. And today specifically, you're going to hear a lot about spiritual wellness and social wellness too, on top of that. But I know, because there's two questions that if we don't get them out of the way, everyone's just going to be thinking, oh my gosh, I really want to know. So first of all, what took you to Uganda?
Yeah. To sum it up, so I actually gave my life to Jesus, committed my life to Jesus when I was about 14. And he gave me about a year to just do something like regular. And then by the time I was 15, he went to some camp, and I was not in a different country. I'd never been to a different country. But I felt like God was like, you're going to do cross-cultural ministry and you're going to Africa, which is a big continent, but it was like, okie dokie, I had no idea what that was going to look like. I didn't know if I was going to, for a longest time, I thought I was going to do like veterinary missions, which clearly I did not land on that. But that's what took me to A&M. That's how I met Gretchen. So it all works out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So really didn't use that part of my undergrad degree, but that's okay.
I think that's like most people these days. It's like, I have one.
Got
it. I'm doing.
Yeah. Not really useful, but sometimes you got to be your own doctor in Uganda, so it kind of works. So that was my understanding. It was like, I'm going to Africa, and I had no idea where in Africa. I knew it was a lot more countries than just one big one, that's a whole lot of.
I mean, is it? I don't really know geography, but I did look up where Uganda is, just so you know. I know where you are in the world right now.
So there's like 54, 55 countries in the continent. There's like Saharan desert, all of that. And then there's us, which are on the equator, and it kind of goes south from there all the way down to South Africa, which everyone's heard of. So so I'm in the middle. I got to the Uganda part. I was actually in college when I was reading. I was sitting in the middle of my chemistry class, like huge room, 100 people. It's professor's about to get started, and I'm wrapping up this book that I just picked up from people who like a ministry missions conference thing. And I am reading this book, and it's called The Bogey Girls, and it's about the story of the Lord's Resistance Army that was in Uganda, and specifically in northern Uganda. It's this group that claimed to be hearing from the Lord, and they clearly weren't. They abducted children, turned them into child soldiers. They just, talking with my friends here who went through it, they just ravaged this place. And so this place, particularly where I'm living now, actually, was basically on hold, just living day to day in fear, off of aid. They had nothing, like they couldn't get their lives going because of the fear of being attacked and taken every day. They were moved into internally dispersed placement camps, like moved off of their lands. It was rough. And it was like that for about 20 years. So that stopped. That group finally was kind of stamped out in Uganda in 2008. So I'm reading this story
at all.
So we're definitely in the recovery time. So everyone's still trying to get their feet back under themselves. So I'm reading a story, and it was just these amazing like nuns from this school. These girls were abducted, and they went and got them back. And I'm just wrapping up the pages, and then I'm in the middle of a chemistry class, 100 people. I'm bawling. I'm just like, I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, I think I would probably think that too. No.
Yeah. and that was the moment that I was like, I think I want to go to Uganda, because nothing has had this much, impact on my heart. And I've never felt this strongly about anything before. You hear sad stories
right.
happen all the time. This was beyond. So I was like, okay, Uganda.
How do you get there? Where is it? Let me find a map. Yeah, totally.
Right. So, and then I met my soon-to-be husband, like right at the same time that this is happening.
That's
crazy. Yeah. So it was like, okay, Uganda, I'm just going to put this on hold. So my husband, Roger, and we dated and got engaged and got married. And I didn't really talk about, when we first met, we both wanted to do cross-cultural missions. Like we knew that we wanted to do that. So at least we had that. And we were like, we cannot choose each other by what country we'll want to go to. Like that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's a bad way to choose a mate. So we were like, okay, cool. And I think I might've mentioned it on our first date. And after that, it was a like non-discussion.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
it's one of those things where you're like, what do I be obedient to? There's so many things. And I think that's a cool example. Right. Like, okay, I've got to, got to get my tribe first. Got to get my family first.
Yes. And we knew it was like, God calls us to lots of things. And then when he brings you together with, your husband or your wife, then, let's figure out who we are as a core and then where we're going to go from there.
Right.
And it's okay that he called, Roger was headed to a completely different country when I met him, like in the middle of his application heading out process, and he put it on pause. Yeah.
I did not know that. Wow.
Middle East. So it was a whole like, okay. And he just put it on pause because it was, God was calling us to something else. It was a very confusing time in his life, but
we've all had those times. We've all had those times.
Yeah. I digress. So we got married, and then we spent time just being married and really just strengthening our relationship. And then we were like, okay, I think we're ready. Let's do it. So we went through a discipleship training school without a country in mind, a specific one. And during that time, we said, all right, I think it's time for us to really pray about where we're going to go. And we took 2 weeks to fast and pray and just hear God and what he said. And at the end of those we were like, we're not going to talk about what we're hearing. We're just going to wait until the end of those 2 weeks and see what he says. So we didn't influence each other. The whole time I'm hearing Uganda still. And I was like, nope, I'm telling God, which is, no, we're not doing Uganda.
Yeah. Something else. Is that really like my thought, or like am I imposing that on you? Yeah, absolutely.
It was really nice having Roger into this picture, because at the end of those 2 weeks, I'm still in Uganda and I didn't know what to do. I was like, I don't hear anything. Maybe that's it, the problem. And at the end of that time, he's like, I feel like I'm hearing Uganda. And it was like, okay.
Yes, victory.
Like it's it was like I thought I was just doing this wrong. So it was like, okay, we're going to Uganda. So that was 2010. We took a trip to Uganda to like get our feet on the ground, figure out kind of what's happening here, where do we want to land, because there's, it's a big country and big enough country. It's not like Texas big or anything. We landed, and then we raised support and got prepared and landed here in 2012. So I've been here for over 5 years now. It'll be 6 in November. Yeah.
Wow. So did you, when you went, and of course I'm going to ask some follow-up stuff here, but did you already were there people there you were connected with, or did you just kind of start from scratch?
Yeah, a little bit of both. We're the team leaders from our sending organization, Hope for the Nations. So we were really kind of pioneering in this area out of our sending organization, but they had acquaintances and other people in many different areas living in Uganda, fortunately. So there was a team here, a family here who had been here for 2 years, I think, by the time we landed, and we ended up serving them and their church and their ministry for the first 2.5 years that we were here, while we were spending time learning the language and the culture. So yeah, we took a long time to kind of just understand the Acholi people. That's the name of the tribe that we're here. That's in this particular city. We took a long time to understand them, to get their culture, just so that we could actually have an effective ministry. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that's always stood out to me as I've watched, your videos, your Instagram posts, like the stuff that you put up is the actual true like desire for, and we'll get to it, but relationships. And I think that is just such a beautiful part of what you guys are doing. And so again, another curiosity question. We have to get them out of the way. What is daily life for you? And because probably what my daily life is like, how is that so different? Or is it? It might not be at all.
Yeah. Is it? I don't know. So I'll tell you, the one thing that's very interesting that I've realized is that I'm not an American mom. I have no idea what it's like to be a parent in America. I've spent the only time that we're about to go back to the States for a little while, so I'll learn as much as I can. But, I had my children here. My firstborn was 6 months when we went back to America for the first time. So that was after 2.5 years in Uganda. Then we went back for 6 months. So I had a 6-month to 1-year-old in America, but that's not actually enough time to like get your feet under you and understand like how to like do daily life.
Yeah.
So
I remember reading a post from you when you came back to America and you were like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, this is so out of my realm. I'm used to Uganda. Like, yeah. I remember reading that vividly.
Mm-hmm. You guys do it different. I knew how to be single. I knew how to be a college student. I knew how to be a married couple without kids. not know how to mom. And that was new. And I'm still trying to like get my feet under me. I'm constantly asking people back in the States before I'm leaving, like, what do you do about this? And what about that? Cause I just don't know. But I'll tell you what my daily life like is like here, and maybe we can figure it out. So let's see, everybody starts at 7. The boys both wake up at around 7 o'clock, and we do breakfast together as a family. The nice thing is that we do set our own schedule. We don't have there's only one boss, and he's pretty flexible. So that's God.
Yeah, not that much. But for everyone that didn't,
just in case. So we spend time with the boys, and what's ended up happening and being really an effective part of our ministry too is our exercise and walk time. So my husband actually just started walking because he needed to get out of the house and do some sort of exercise. And he would throw Holden, when he was younger, on his back and in a little carrier and just start walking around our neighborhood. And our neighborhood is not, okay, so this is different. Our neighborhood is not what you think is a neighborhood.
It's not like my little sidewalk with lawns and stuff out here, no?
Not at all. So across the street from us is a tiny drugstore, something that resembles a shack, but I can't describe it. Behind that is other people's houses that look a lot more like mine. Like 4 doors down is a whole bunch of huts. And then like 6 doors down is a school. And then a couple more down is like a tiny market. It's just like, it's all over the place. So it's easy to, like, what you picture like African village, I'm pretty sure that you would come up with parts of my neighborhood. So Roger would take long walks, and that was about, he did it partly to get when we had one child, out of my hair, so I could just like exercise and breathe and maybe have some quiet time with Jesus, and now we have 2, so it's a little bit, shifted. So he takes the littlest one, and then I exercise here. But that's how actually Roger ended up meeting like a lot of our neighbors and like getting to know them, and then getting invited over for, tea or dinner or whatever with them, and just getting to know people. So that was something that God ended up using. That was actually just for us. We didn't really think about it. It's just how it happened.
So often, I mean, I know I said, we're going to find some links between all these components of but I find that so true. Everything is so interconnected, and, as long as you're like working in each of those areas and you're going to see everything come to fruition.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. You're going to be hearing me say a lot of that. It's like, oh, and then this happens.
Yeah.
Because God uses everything.
Yeah. It's like everyone goes, but God, right? But I thought I was doing this, but God.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the morning. And then after that, we, depending on the day, there's a little, I would call it micro international school that we send Holden to twice a week. He's 3.5 going on 4. So he's got little buddies that he goes and see. That school represents 9 countries.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So, including Ugandans. So it's just like, so it's just a group of people, of parents who all wanted their kids to have some like good social time. So, so he does that, or I hand him and Paxton, my youngest, over to what we call them, their aunties. I have 2 house helpers, and let me explain this before you're like, whoa.
I will say, like, there's a very different, and I've been to other countries too. Where it's a very, very different mindset about what we have in America regarding, like you're saying, house helpers. Yeah, for sure.
So, and some of that is because of the lack of other options. So I'm happy to employ these 2 women. They both have 5 children each, and they're amazing. So fortunately older than my kids. So they're like, oh yeah, I got it. So, but yeah, we don't have daycare here. We don't have dishwashers. We don't have any like modern convenience packaged food. And so it's just like everything starts from scratch. Everything is like, you better figure it out on your own or teach somebody to do it for you, or you'll be doing it. So I had to make the conscious, and it was very hard for me to make that decision to like not do all of the house stuff, you know, and hire somebody else to do it. But, you know, I actually talked to my overseer, and he was like, Colleen, you have a choice. You can either do this, and this is all you do is stay at the house and not go out and not meet people and not share about who God is.
Which is why you're
take
here.
Care of your house.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why I'm here. Or, you know, take care of your house by yourself. Or you can hire people to do that. And then you can go out and give them jobs and also, you know, go out and share and do what you love to do and do what God's called you to.
Yeah.
So then it felt more like a no-brainer. It was
right. Well, and I mean, I think just moms in any culture can understand the need for like, hey, sometimes like we have to be true to what our mission is. And if that means like, you know, chilling and I think because we do have modern conveniences here, it's more like, you know, just chill. Like, don't freak out about this one little thing and let yourself, you know, make the decision to step away from that. Or you're right. We can live in a home all day and find something to do as moms.
I'm great at being busy. I'm fantastic at it.
I think most moms are.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Let me see. So that's my mornings. Work day really swaps off. So my husband and I love sharing our work and parenting responsibilities. It takes a lot of scheduling. We have a whole meeting once a week just to deal with our schedule for it. But
we do too. Yeah. We put everything on a like dry erase calendar, and I feel like a total nerd, but man, the week goes so smoothly when you do that.
Yeah. Who's doing what? I don't know. Like, we just can't have that conversation when you have two tiny children screaming. So it's just not going to work. So yeah, we share those responsibilities. So some days I'm at home with the kids and the nannies. Sometimes we're both out. Sometimes he's at home. So yeah, that's kind of the day. So then, yeah, daytime sometimes I'm on the computer and on Instagram, and sometimes more often I'm out, hanging out with people or, really hanging out with people. That's what discipleship looks like. So,
awesome.
And then, Roger, the same, we just go out and meet people. The nice thing about being fully funded, or being funded to be here is that we don't have to have a full-time job and try to do ministry. We have the benefit of being able to just fully dedicate our time to ministry, to meeting people, to waiting hours to have a meeting, because Ugandan time is very different than American time. So if I say 5, they say 7, you know, and you just show up and you work with it. And so we have the benefit of being able to do that. So without, because we don't have full-time jobs. Then we really kind of sanctified 5 to 7 as family time. So some of that is prepping for the evening, getting the boys' baths ready, which I'll give you a tour of the house. You'll see like they're in like a plastic tub because we don't really have bathtubs are kind of rare. Filtering water for the day, that takes another, 20 minutes at least every day to get clean drinking water.
It's just so eye-opening, because I'm thinking, gosh, that's not even like on my radar. That's so cool though.
Just think about brushing your teeth. Like, we had to set up a whole system so we could have a bit of running water to brush your teeth, because otherwise you can't run your toothbrush under the sink. Like, it's just a whole nother thing that you have to deal with. So there's some, things.
Some things.
For some things, yeah. Somebody asked me what I was excited about with coming back to the States, and I was like, clean drinking water.
So easy to please. So that's awesome. But what a cool thing. To me, it's just so it seems foreign, but it also seems like it's so interesting. It's not just like, oh, that's so different. And it's very interesting that you're able to make that shift to another culture like that is truly a calling, because there's a lot of people that would resist,
Yeah. Oh, it took a lot of crying, so don't worry. I mean, I'm 5 years in, so I am like, everything is old hat.
Filter the water.
Yeah. The first time I had a really good, what am I doing in Uganda cry was about 4 months in, and my power was out again, and that was normal. And I kind of figured out how to deal with that. And then the water went out, and I had no water and no power in my house. And I just lost it. It was just like, what do I do? And now I'm like, the water's out. Oh, okay. It's just like, it's a total transition from my, year one version of myself.
Well, good. I'm glad we waited to do this interview.
Yeah. It would have been a real downer that first year.
It's horrible. But it's so, I mean, though, I mean, you stayed focused, you were operating in your anointing, you knew that you were supposed to be there, and you powered through. And I mean,
yeah, those are the times when you're like, okay, God has called me here. I trust him. He's really smart. I can totally, I can keep doing this, and this is a normal thing. Like, other people totally have this reaction. It's always like this. And it's really comforting to know that you're not alone. And I think that happens with motherhood and ministry and everything, like missions. Like, we think that it's totally not normal. Like, I'm being weird. And then turns out, if you step out of that and actually say something, you find out that you're not by yourself. And in addition to God loving you despite your total mess, other people have had your experience, and they can enter into it and totally get it. So yeah.
And you're right. Like, no matter where you are, we talked, the last chat that I did was with, someone who has an incredible weight loss journey. And she was at that, like, very, very bottom. And I think what you're saying is her whole thing now was like, I thought I was alone. Like, you're not, no matter where you are. And you mentioned motherhood. It doesn't need to be Uganda. For you, it's Uganda. But I think just within your life, you're going to find those really bottom of the barrel moments. And, do you really trust that someone else has been there? Has your best will at heart always, all the time. And can you just trust that? And I think that's a really interesting and kind of cool way to look at it.
Yeah. That's really my day. We do dinner, we do baths, we do bedtime. Occasionally, because Ugandans are night people, I start having discipleship meetings. I'm coaching these 2 women who are amazing. And we start at 7:30 at night and go till 10. They think it's normal. I'm like trying to keep my eyes open, but so
wow. So do they typically sleep in? You're saying you guys start at 7. So do they start their day later too, or they just kind of stay up later?
Most Ugandans don't use alarm clocks, and they go with the sun. And the thing about Uganda, it's on the equator, so we have sunshine from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. period all year round. So it's an easy way to go by, you can go by the sun when it never changes.
Yeah.
So most people, it's like that. The Ugandan workday is 8 to 5, so instead of 9 to 5. So you gotta, deal with that in the government. But everybody else is like here, our 2 helpers, they start at 10 and they finish at 4. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so gosh, there's just so much interesting. We're gonna get like so off track, I just know. So the next question is about your relationship. So one of the hashtags that you use a lot on social media is relationships first. And I can tell just because I also see, it's not like you just use that hashtag and then have like a selfie of yourself in front of something. You have pictures that are very obvious. You have relationships with the community, and it's obviously a very important thing to you. As I just throw my phone with all the questions on it to the side and then try to finish my sentence. That was my question. So why are relationships such an important part of your ministry?
Hashtag it's about relationship. That's it.
Hello. I should have paid more attention.
Relationship first is good. I'm going to steal it.
Oh, I think I saw it on someone else's. And so maybe I thought it was yours. Yeah.
I might steal it. Hashtags are for all. Relationships. Okay. So, God made us to be in relationship. That's why God created all of us, to be in relationship with him and relationship with each other. And, it is so easy. And this is a mindset that unfortunately happens, not just in America, but everywhere, to think that you're coming to, poor Africa, poor Uganda, to come and like fix people, to save them, to, that you're doing it, not that God is doing it. You're providing Bibles and you're providing clean drinking water. I'm cool with all of that stuff. I have no problem with it, but I do have a problem with how it's dispersed and that the relationship is lacking. And my best example of this is my really good friend Alfred. And Alfred went to the church that Roger and I served, and Roger got to know him, and Roger really ended up discipling Alfred for 2 years, and it was amazing. Like, they really got a great relationship. And meanwhile, Alfred, the people that we were ministering with, they treated Alfred like a conduit to other things, that he was just a tool to be used to outreach others. That, okay, fine, you go and you evangelize to all these other people, go tell all these people about Jesus and come back to me. And the relationship part was really missing. Mm-hmm. And it hurt. I mean, honestly, he was really great about opening up with us and saying, like, I just feel like I'm just this object, and not a real person that somebody's, wanting to get to know. And we that's important. And so we wanted to make sure that when we started House to House Uganda, that the focus was always about relationships, that we totally want everyone here to know about God's love, like everyone in Uganda and everyone in every surrounding country. We totally want it to spread, but we know that that's only really going to happen if people are willing to spend time with one another, to be in relationship with one another, to share about God in your nasty, dirty lives, when you're like, oh my God, I'm a total wreck. And you're telling that to the other person who's like, I have totally been there, and this is what God said to me, and I want to pray for you, and this is awful, and just to be in that together. That's how that's going to happen, because it's not going to happen with just some like tool and just like a one time you told this one person and then boom, it happens. Like that is not how it works. And God didn't design us for that. He designed us for relationship. And Jesus said, go and make disciples. He didn't say go and make converts, go, evangelize everybody, go tell everybody about me one time and then leave them. Like, he said, go make disciples, and disciples is time spent. He spent 3 years with those guys. So, and was in and out of their lives and knew them well and loved them well. And so we find that incredibly important. And, you never know who God is going to use in your life, or who God is trying to impact through you, until you talk about him, and really make him a part of every part of your life. So, that was a lesson that I was really starting to learn in America. When I was still in the States, I was personal training, teaching group exercise, and running a gym, actually.
You're in corporate fitness then, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I like you're laughing. You're like, that's so different than where my life is.
Yeah, I actually call it my former life, or my past life, because it's so like There we go.
I mean, it's so to me, like listening to you talk about this, first of all, like that is what attracted me to, I mean, I know you, so I'm like, obviously I was already like following you and all this, but it's what kept me so interested in kind of coming back to and like looking at your ministry and thinking, oh my gosh, it's so different. And we can really extrapolate here and talk about a lot of different things with that same idea of, are you just going to go to that one component? Are you going to do it once and then walk away? Because you know that that's never, and I mean, as a mom, that's never going to make it stick. I can't potty train by putting my little girl on the potty one time and going, got it? That's the potty. All right, we're done. Like, and no matter what it is, and we've got people, especially the people listening to this at first are going to be people who are kind of in this whole physical health realm. And I mean, that's no different. It's no different. You can't just
tap in. You can't go to the gym once and get that without
a relationship. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, it takes time. It takes work. Relationships are totally messy, you know, and you're like, what's happening? And cross-culturally, man, like pile it on, because you're like, you know, we spent 2.5 years learning this culture, but every day is a new learning experience. And so, you know, but the cool thing is like, we can trust that. And this was the thing, like we can trust that God put us right where we are, right in the relationships that we have for a reason, like to talk about him. And it's not two separate things, like your spiritual life and your real life with, you know, play groups and other moms and the grocery person. If y'all ever go into stores anymore, it seems like everything's online now, but just in case you do ever see other people.
I went to Kroger yesterday.
Okay. So in case you happen to see all of the people, you're in whatever relationships you're in those for a reason. God put you there for a reason. And you know, if I could encourage everyone to not compartmentalize their spiritual life with everything away from everything else, and say like, okay, I talk spiritual talk at church, right? I talk about how I was praying. I talk about how I was spending time with God, with other people at church, but I would never bring that up with my hairdresser. I would suggest that you do. Like, I would suggest that you pretend, and this is what worked for me in America, and it works for me here too. Pretend that everybody totally understands that you can hear God, that you can pray to him, that he directs you, that he cares about you and cares about them. Just pretend they all totally get it and talk to them like you would all your church friends. And I swear people will be more open because you are more open with your own life, your own struggles, your own prayer life. And don't over spiritualize it. Don't make it a big deal. Just like, I was talking to God this morning, and he was saying to do this, and I don't know. And, you know, like, it's fun to have those conversations in front of other people.
And if people, you know, maybe if people aren't along those same lines, I find that even those people that, you know, like totally aren't thinking that way, they still don't shun you. If you're just making it part of your daily life, because no one would, I mean, if you're like, yeah, I put on these leggings this morning and they're terrible leggings and you would never wear them, we still typically don't say that. Like, well, I definitely wouldn't have done that and you're crazy. Yeah. Like, I mean, just if you, I love that piece of advice. That's incredible.
Yeah. And they won't shun you. And I've said those types of things to New Age Buddhists in Austin. And I've said it to like totally over it Ugandans and a rap artist and like just, and a kickboxing world champion. I mean, all kinds of randomness. I have said that part of my life in front of people, and they're either going to be like, okay, cool, and move the conversation along because they're not interested, or they're going to say like, when you say this, like, can you just explain that more? And then you get an opportunity to share about your personal relationship with God, with your other relationships.
I love that. I love that. And I just love how you're talking about like sharing right now too. It's for some people, and I think depending on what you've been exposed to, that's a really new concept on like, you're not sharing the word. You're not sharing this one single thing. You're sharing relationship. And it's so, I think everything is timely. Everything is so happens for a purpose and a reason. And I was listening to a training within my organization the other day, and they were talking about relationships first and how we lose sight of that. And once you lose sight of that, like everything goes downhill. And they had like all these very specific examples, and, you know, just cool. Like, can I just say cool? So cool.
Yeah. I still say cool.
It's because we're like dorky moms now, though. So we have to make sure we hang on to all these really like old things so that when our kids get old enough, they can be properly mortified by the words that we use.
So for my kids who will think it's normal because they don't have other options. So
you're going to be the cool mom for way longer. I'm so jealous.
Yeah, until we figure it out. They'll go to college and be like,
Mom. You're not cool at all, Mom. And so, I mean, this kind of goes right into the next question, because I think we often think of missionaries going to other cultures and they're going to be teaching there, right? And I know that's been a mindset for a lot of people. But, I mean, for me, I would learn way more probably than I would teach. And maybe specific to, you know, being a mom, like you're saying, like you don't know how to mom. You had to learn there. But what kind of things have you learned, and you can talk specific to motherhood or just life in general, from the people of Uganda?
Yeah, momming. I was reading this question and the next one, and they're going to flow into each other.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So momming specifically, the things that I really love about Ugandans, easy one is breastfeeding. Breastfeeding in Uganda is a no big deal, and I'm really thankful that I was here during that season of my life. And I actually had low milk supply and breastfeeding issues, so I was breastfeeding with a supplementary system, and I had to explain that to Ugandans. But man, breastfeeding in Uganda is easy, and everyone expects it.
You mean you don't have to cover yourself in this giant ridiculous? You know, I never even bought one of those because I was like, I cannot get behind like basically going to Academy and buying a one-person tent and I just couldn't get behind it. I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry. Like, United States world, you will be seeing my breasts at some point.
Yeah, they're coming out, and it's hot here, and like I've heard stories of other moms who've tried to cover, and I get like some, like I am not one of these, but I'm very like, whatever, the boob is out.
I think it comes with being like a fitness professional and in that kind of like workout industry. I really do. We're like, it is just a part of my body. Get over it. Move on.
Yeah. So, and I've had other moms who don't feel like that, and unfortunately they like wanted to cover, so they had to want, like, you know, the cover, and they're trying, and they just gave up because Ugandans would be like, that baby cannot breathe. You remove that. So,
it sounds like my mom. What are you doing?
Stop. So, I had a guy friend, he's like 22, and I'm sitting there nursing my firstborn, and in the middle of church, you know, and I tried to do the, like, you know, make the gap, you know, you kind of make the gap. You're like mildly. Yeah,
you're not like taking your whole top off. And
I think I could have, and it would have been fine, but I didn't. And
it's like whatever little dignity I have left, I'll just hold on to that.
I'm just gonna attempt it. Also, after birth, you're kind of like, whatever.
I agree. Especially those first couple days when you're still like, when I was still in the hospital, right? And so everyone I saw, I'm like, you have seen so much. You really have. I'm sorry for you. So.
Yeah. So, I had a friend. I was in the middle of church. I made the gap, you know, and then he just starts tickling my kid's cheek while he's nursing to get his attention. So then my baby is like, it's just nipple, his mouth, he's still hanging on to it. So
you got to. He's like scared.
Yeah, and he's talking to my 20-year-old friend. Who's like,
dude.
That's
awesome. Oh my gosh.
So I got in trouble.
Never happened to me in church, by the way. Never.
You just got to come here, and then someone will
totally do that. I know. I'm like jealous right now, right? Oh man, that's a cool experience.
Yeah, I got in trouble for stopping at only 1 year from another mom that was in one of the house churches I was helping with, and she's like, "He's not breastfeeding. How old is he?" And I was like, "He's 1.5 years." And he's like, "But you should go till 2." And I was like, we stopped.
Maybe my daughter and I just need to come there for a little, because I'm like already in like shame mode. She's 17 months. She still breastfeeds when she wants to. And I'm in like, not full on, but it's getting closer and closer to shame mode here. It's like, yeah, breastfeed till 1. After 1, it's like,
yeah. It can go till like 4 here, really.
Wow. So, okay. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm not so much about the like electricity and water, but the breastfeeding, I could like, yeah.
Get behind that. Yeah, totally.
Awesome. So
that was fun. Also having the really cool thing of, there's so many things about having children here. There's a reason that I'm staying here with small children. Like I honestly think it's probably easier to live in Uganda in a whole lot of ways, enough to deal with the clean drinking water issues and whatnot. You know, there's that, but you can take your children everywhere. There are no restaurants that are off limits. There are no places that have to have like kind of kids only. Moms here take their children to work when they're still like under 1. It is just really kid friendly. We were potty training and my oldest peed in the middle of the restaurant, and I was so ashamed, you know, like he just like whoosh, all over the floor. And I went up to the staff and I was like, "Do you have a towel so I can mop it up?" And they're like, "What happened?" I was like, "Sorry, he peed on the floor." And they're like, "Oh, it's okay, I'll get it." just no issues.
What is potty training like there? Like, what is this is super my curiosity, because when my little girl, we are so off topic, but I think there's a reason. So when my little girl was little, we were very like, the disposable diaper thing. Like, we weren't going to be those people who were going to ever be 100% anyway, because as soon as you do that, it's going to come back around and say, well, haha. So we used cloth diapers, but I also started reading about other cultures and their like elimination communication is what it was called. And so I started her very young on just learning, just not being scared of the toilet. Here's what it is. Like, here's how you can pee outside your diaper. And now at 17 months, she's peeing at daycare, like she's wearing the pull-ups versus the full diaper. And we only did it just as a like, hey, first of all, maybe that's one less poopy diaper I'll have to clean up. Like, not gonna lie, I was super selfish there. And then also like, maybe there's a couple disposable diapers, and do we really have to wait until 2 years old? Anyway, I just, out of curiosity, I'd love to hear about your experience with that.
Yeah, Ugandan children are mostly potty trained by around 2.5. And trained is not the right word. They definitely do elimination communication. So I picked that up from them. And I've seen a mom with her 3-month-old, like, and this is Uganda. So she has a basin, like it's a plastic kind of shallow bucket. And everyone sits on the floor here. So she's sitting on the floor. She puts her legs straight on top of the basin, and then she puts the baby on top of her legs. And then she kind of like grunts at the baby, and then the baby pees through her legs like a little toilet into the basin. So that's how I've definitely seen it.
Oh my gosh. You know how much I love this right now. And maybe you're talking to the right person, because I know this is not the norm in my society, but this is the kind of stuff I was reading, and I was like, yes, I can remember holding Alice just like over the ground at 6 months. Just because I actually didn't have a diaper on her at that point. I'm like, well, maybe she'll just go. And babies know. It's so weird. They do understand.
Yeah. My second born feels very differently than my first, but my first was pooping in the toilet in the like tiny potties, which are way smaller here than they are in America, because everyone does it at such a younger age. The little tiny training potty is like tiny baby size, not big baby.
I should have asked you to get me a tiny potty, because I had to even put her on the actual toddler potty because she can't sit on it.
I've heard of people having to like special order something in America and it's like $20. Let me just tell you, it's $3 here. So I had 6 potties in my house because it was like, there's got to be a potty.
A potty party in my house.
So yeah, it's just a lot easier. So I put my firstborn on the potty. I couldn't do the like, oh, it just doesn't have a diaper all the time. That's how they do it here.
Yeah, that's even hard for me because I find myself running around and just cleaning up.
Right.
And I also, when she does that, and maybe this is just me and being weird, but she doesn't always, like, when she just has nothing on, it's almost like more fun for her to pee on the floor. Like, I think she likes it. She's kind of like, ooh, this is fun. It's like sprinkling sensation, and it goes everywhere. I'm like, yeah, there's that.
So I did it between. So that was when I was kind of blending both worlds of like America and diapers all the time. Uganda, never have diapers on. Yeah, it's a luxury item to like buy Pampers in Uganda. So if you are pretty wealthy, then you can afford them. They're almost equal price as what you would buy in America. So like,
wow.
So like price wise, it doesn't transfer where it's cheaper. Like, oh, that's the same price. So we do a combination of cloth and disposable and nothing. Elimination communication. So yeah. So Holden, my oldest, he was probably pooping in the potty most of the time period, like when he was a baby. And then so when we started potty training, it was, at least that part wasn't scary. So that was nice.
Yeah. And I don't know what it like, and that even came up at daycare. They're like, it's so weird. She poops in the potty fine, but we don't always catch every pee. And I'm like, well, quite honestly, like I would be pooping in a potty first, but there's a lot of like, for some reason, kids usually do it backwards. Like they're scared of the poop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to say all this stuff. I'm going to have kid number 2 and they're going to like wear diapers until they're 5. That's fine. Like I said, I will never be like, this is my perfect world and I've done it all right. But I definitely am very, very happy that the pooping happened first in my house.
Amen, sister. Yeah, we got done with that. Now we're still having pee accidents, but it's fine. And I mean, in Uganda, like I said, like everyone's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, can we at least change him? I think that would be great. So.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. There's no shame around pottying for a pretty long time. So that's really great. But yeah, most of them are pretty potty trained early. Let me see. So back to my things that are cool in Uganda. Let me see. The only other thing that was kind of mom specific is really being great with having less. And I feel like that's a struggle constantly in America. And for my American friends, it's like having all the things, buying all the things. I mean, we tried to register on Amazon and there were just categories of things I didn't even know existed for babies. It was insane.
Agreed. But I mean, I think that too, we are inundated with that as like a message that's being sent to us daily. And I mean, everyone I know that even attempts to live with less, it's a struggle because you're being told all the time, like, that's not new enough. That's not good enough. You don't have enough. You need this thing. And so talking to people like you, I'm like, this is great.
Yeah. So we get a lot of freedom because, we got to pick and choose when we were making our baby registry list of like, what do we want sent over from America that they don't have in Uganda. We got to just like eliminate entire categories of things. And like, nobody here needs that. So why would I need that
nursery monogram? You don't have like a special nursery monogram for your wall?
I do have a mural, as a matter of fact, but that was just self-imposed painting. I just wanted to enjoy it. However, I don't have a crib, so.
Okay. So the whole bedding category, that's gone.
Yeah. So, it's just, we got to choose what was going to work for us. And we definitely have less because we literally have one closet in our entire house. So it's not like you can just put it somewhere. You got to figure it out.
With it. If you're going to buy it, you got to see it.
You can't hide it. Like, it does not hide. So you better really love that thing. Or really want your kids to love it a lot. And if you don't, you're like, let's get rid of it. Somebody else will want this. So yeah, so those are the things that mom wise that I really learned. The other things were going on to your, what I wish it was more like in America.
Yeah.
I'm just going to answer your question before you ask it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
don't worry. That's totally fine.
So what I would love to see more of, there's really two big things. One of them is doing life in community that happens a lot more naturally in Uganda. And I think some of that is like a literal fencing thing. Like there are less fences and therefore your neighbors are just right there. Now that has its ups and downs, and my house has a huge, very intentional about,
sorry, I think it cut out for like half a second, but we're good. So you said your house does have like a fence and.
Yeah. So I still have a fence, but we're very intentional about living in community. And
you have like at one point too, I remember seeing on Instagram, you had even a moat.
Yes.
What was going on? I don't remember. I just remember like laughing. You're like, I have a moat.
I have a moat. I'm going to put crocodiles in it. Yeah, that was the road construction. We got a paved road this year. Like a week ago, they finally finished.
Whoa.
I've been living on a dirt road for 5 years. So this is a very big deal. So they were digging the ditch with the piping, and I had like a 4-foot drop between my driveway and the road. It was fun times. We've had construction on our house for the last 2 years to deal with that road. So.
And is it just like, okay, we're putting a hole here, you figure out how to get over it?
They knocked on our door, said, we're going to do this. Do you need to move your car out? Because fortunately they knew we had a car. And so we drove it out and drove it at our friend's house down the street. And then we put a ladder that we had in our house across it. And that's how we crossed the ditch.
That's what I remember seeing is the moat and ladder issue. Yes. How fun.
So it was a homemade ladder from scrap wood in our home that we laid across. Yeah.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. So community. Yeah. So, I spend a lot of time across the street, and occasionally I'll have, and not like my nannies, but like my neighbor, like, hey, can you hold in for a second while I go and do this? And there's a lot more just like community helping each other. I honestly had a hard time in America when I went back the first time, because I gotten so used to just having a small baby in Uganda. And in Uganda, when you walk into any restaurant, a gas station, anywhere, someone is going to carry your baby. Like that is just normal. Like, wow. Like, let me take him. And then you're like, okay. And you get to, if you're at a restaurant, enjoy your coffee while the staff are playing with your child somewhere in the kitchen.
That's so sweet. That is just cool.
I'm so spoiled. And so I got really confused why I was still holding my child. And I walked into church and I just assumed someone would grab him. And then I will
say there are churches, like I know my church sometimes I would stick her like in my little carrier just because I'm like, she needs to sleep. No one grabbed the baby. Sure. But again, like you were saying, but that's just church, right? Like, oh, we can't do it outside church because, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I expected it, at least in church. And that didn't happen. It didn't happen when I walked in the bank. And it didn't happen when I walked into the gas station. Like, nobody was carrying my baby. And it was like, come on.
In fact, like, had it happened here, it may have been like a different situation.
I know. And so it's just here, it's really normal. Everyone is great with kids. And like, you're like the 20-year-old guy is like, come on, let me give you, a piece of bread and I'm going to carry you around. And like, they're totally used to children. I would not say everyone. I'm sure there are people who aren't, but most of the people that I run into, most of the Ugandans are just love children. They love having them around. And I really love that. And I wish that was in America more.
Gosh, I didn't expect to feel like jealous during this conversation, but yeah, totally I am right now. That sounds amazing, especially the grocery shopping part.
Yeah.
We need more of that. Like, I'm like, I just need to grab this one thing off without her, like, especially, I mean, she's hitting that age where it's like, yeah, I touch everything.
I would leave Holden at a vendor in the market, and it's like a picture of farmer's market. And he'd be like, she'd be giving him a carrot, and he's like eating a carrot. I'm like, do you want to stay here with Auntie, or do you want to come with me? And he's like, I stay here. I'm like, okay. And so I'm just wandering around, getting my groceries, coming back, it's fine. Everything's fine.
That's so great. Well, yeah, very, very cool. Yeah, so I'm trying to think, like, we've been on this forever, and I know at some point, because my husband's out there with my daughter, he's going to be like, hey, I got to go to work. But I do, so I selfishly want to hear a little bit about your, like, how you've been doing fitness and things like that in Uganda with you said you've done fitness and personal training, and because I want to know, what is that like?
Yeah. Again, this was like a learning curve where I thought, like, okay, that was my past life, and I am now here.
Do you need to take her? Sorry. Okay.
I'm here, I'm doing missions. I'm not, that was my old life. I'm sacrificing this part of me to do this ministry work. And I was wrong. So I did a full year where I just like worked out at home and didn't do anything else and didn't talk about my former life as a fitness professional. And then I ran into Alfred, as a matter of fact, the one who was Roger had been discipling, and he had gone to a gym, and he was like, I feel like it's not going well. Like, the advice they're giving me isn't great. I was like, well, what advice are they giving you? And then we just start having this conversation, and he was like, I think you know a lot about this. And I was like, I do actually.
Trying to hide, but actually.
I do know a lot about it. So he was the first person I personal trained just a little bit. And so he wanted to just get some advice. That church that we were serving, that I was doing that, and can y'all still hear me?
Yep, you're good now. It got kind of funky, but now you're back.
Okay. Ugandan internet. So it just kind of started spreading that I could do this. And suddenly I was teaching a class. I taught Zumba and interval training for about anywhere from 10 to 20 Ugandans twice a week in my home.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot in your home.
We moved all the furniture out of the living room and went nuts. I didn't have kids at that point. Obviously, I'm not doing that now. But I'm still teaching at other people's homes. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. And again, this was a way that I made better relationships. And it was something where I realized, I was like, oh, God, you wanted me to be all of me, even in Uganda, the fitness geek part of me in Uganda. Like, you didn't want me to put that down. And
100%.
Thankfully, he, helped me pick it back up, because this is now a way that I connect with other people. When I return from this next time in the States, I'm planning to talk to one of our local neighborhood leaders. I don't really know how to describe her, but she does like programs for women, and I'm gonna volunteer to do some classes for them, just to like meet other people and get to do both the health, and there's so much poor education when it comes to health and fitness in Uganda. So just to help bring people into that space, but also just make connections, and you never know what
and
back to somebody.
And I love when you said, you wanted me to be all of me, right? Like, absolutely. And that's one of those things that I'm sure there's some people right now who might even be listening to this, like, why are they talking about this? Because, my big hat is that of like health and wellness and fitness. But the more and the more people know me and who've gone through my programs, they know that we don't leave anything out of that. We look at, we divided it into 8 components, but whatever, it can be a million, whatever. As long as you're like, just really taking inventory of all those components and like, am I still thriving everywhere? Because if we put too much into one of those, eventually something's going to suffer. And then like, I like this prerogative of it is you're going to miss out on an opportunity in another area. Yeah. And so I think that's such a cool story.
Yeah.
So gotta be you.
Because once I started teaching again and doing fitness with other people, like a part of me that I feel like I'd really lost had come alive again, because I was able to do this thing that I love and do it with other people. And I had been missing that. It was starting to feel really isolated in this whole like fitness component of my life, and doing it with somebody else was just, it was great. You know, it was a way to really connect and be, and to be more me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, very cool. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to tell us or talk about before we wrap up?
Not that I mean, we've done good. I mean, we're
done really good. Like we've gone over, I think we're like at over an hour at this point. We've done that's the problem when we don't connect, and then we try to connect in this.
Yeah, we should have like prefaced with this an hour of chit chat before we did this.
I think people will like listening to our chit chat.
We're charming. It's going to be great.
So charming.
Yeah, I think the only other thing that I had, and that was another thing that I wish we did more in America, and I think that this comes up a lot, is like being busy, and always having something to do, somewhere to go, really, you know, squashed program, and really just filled with things. I would encourage everyone to be less busy, and to take more downtime. So House to House, our ministry, our team, the literal goals for the team is to A, be available, and B, make friends. Like those are the two goals. And you can't make friends without being available, and to slow down what you're doing to make more connections. And that's something that Ugandans do really well. If somebody comes over to your house unannounced, they just let them in, you know, like, let's spend some time. Clearly you need to talk right now. Let's talk. And they prioritize relationships over time. And I've ended up being a blend of that because I'm still American, but you know, but I have slowed down my schedule and slowed down the number of things that I want to get done in one day, to make space to breathe, to connect with God, to connect with my children, to connect with other people. Like, if I can encourage you guys to do anything else, it would be to slow down and take the time, because really great things come out of that time, and it looks unproductive, but it actually is one of your most productive times, is to just slow down and be less busy. So.
Wow. Well, I'm going to take that totally to heart, because I need to hear it too. It's one of those things, it's kind of what's perpetuated in our culture is go, 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 go. Like you can rest when you're dead. You hear people say that, which is kind of like cringeworthy, but I'm like, but I mean, I think it's something that everybody needs to hear. So if you didn't listen to anything else, listen to that one, just that one. But before we go, I want you to tell us how we can learn more or get connected with your ministry, like website, things like that.
So our website is housetohouseuganda.org. And you can find us on Facebook at House to House Uganda, and Instagram at House to House Uganda. I tried to make it easy.
Good job, branding. Good job.
I did it. Yeah. So I try to post fairly regularly, I'd say, with tiny children. There's only so much I can do, and we are really conscious about what we put on there. So you might not see quite as many like Ugandan faces as you would imagine, and that's because we prioritize their private lives over seeing them. So
you learn a lot about just life in Uganda. Like I enjoy just looking at your pictures of like things going on, and I mean, also I think we've maybe touched on the fact that there's these constant themes throughout, you know, cultures. Like I just remember, I think, was it like last night you had a post about laundry? Like,
Yeah.
yes, that's every mom's life. We still have to make sure we're wearing clean clothes, like to a degree. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's where you can find us. And we're going to be in America for 4 or 5 months, or September through December. So if you want to see me face to face or have me come chat with your friends or whatever, I'd be delighted.
You'll probably hear from me again then.
Yeah. Face to face.
Will this be your second one's first time in America, or has he been back already?
Yeah, really, this is going to be everybody's first, the both children first time, because he was 6 months to 1 year. So he does not remember America. So this is a whole new thing. We're talking about it a lot. It's where grandma and granddad live. And so
how
it'll be
cool.
an interesting thing. We are considering recording our experience back and reentry. So if anything happens, it'll be posted on Instagram and our Facebook. I'll see it.
Yay. Well, thank you so much. This has been really great, and really great connecting with you again, Colleen. This has been awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's been my honor to share with you guys. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm resuming the recording because we forgot to do the house tour, and I think everyone wants to see this, not just me.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm on my laptop, so it's tricky, but this is I'm in my bedroom. This is my bedroom, so have to have mosquito nets in here because malaria sucks. So yeah, that's it. So bedroom's kind of normal. Just call out things that are strange.
So far,
look, I have real toilets.
Is that a luxury?
They do squatties here, so squatty toilets. The fact that my toilet bowl is up is a big deal. And that's my only closet in the entire house. Whoop! Sorry. Yeah, so that's the one closet. And let me give you the rest of the house tour. So bringing my internet. I hope I don't cut out because African internet is fun times. I barricaded myself in my room.
So that's okay. So have I. It's totally fine. Well, my husband and child came in already, so we're good.
This is my son's room. Let me see.
I like that. Okay, so that's a cool little mosquito netting setup. I haven't seen that before.
Yeah. I think we got it from off of a friend. So let's see. But yeah, it's kind of curtains, bookshelf, giant wall mural of an elephant.
Oh, cool. So you did that one, right?
Yeah, I have a secret artistic side. It only comes out when it needs to be really practical. So like, I need a painting. I'll do it. It's fine. So this is my youngest's room. So his mural.
And you painted that too?
I
did. Oh, yep. Secret side here. Never knew.
I have a secret side. I know. So that's that area over there is his little changing table and all the drawers and whatnot, because we have to have all of our furniture made. So, and all of it warps. The wood's not treated, so the drawers is kind of cubbies. See, and this is his bed. So it's just a mattress on the floor.
Yep.
With
perfectly practical. Okay, well, we got a little cut off in the middle of the house tour. So we were really like pushing it with the African internet there, I think, to try to do a house tour. But it was such an amazing conversation, and I know we probably got a little sidetracked and talked about stuff that we wanted to talk about, but I think we could all learn so much, not just from obviously she's got an interesting life in Uganda, and talking about the comparisons with what's going on here in the States and how we live our lives, I think is super interesting. But I think what we need to really remember and focus on, and what makes this a huge relation to what we do with our physical health and is that relationship component, right? It's looking at, and if we're talking about the wellness pie, that's social wellness. And I think we get really caught up in like, well, I need to like schedule this thing and do this thing with my friends and that, and push this relationship and push the, no, like that sitting back, getting less busy and letting those relationships happen is so huge. And I would love to hear from you. So feel free to like comment here. If you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or wherever, I would love to hear your reaction to today's subject matter. I would love to hear about your experiences in like what can happen when you open yourself up to relationships, or when you open yourself up to the spiritual aspect of wellness. What can happen to other parts of your life, right? How is this so important? How are, social wellness and spiritual wellness and building relationships, how is that so important when it comes to putting our mind into motion? I'd love to hear from you. And until we meet again, you guys, I want you to just keep on keeping on. Know that you are doing your very best and you are absolutely worth it. And I will see you back here next time.